So the past few years, I've seen a myriad of retro-styled shooters that provide a modern link to the past, where we have old-school styled gameplay mixed with modern controls. They're often made to be accessible for lower-end computers, have challenging gameplay but fun and fast-paced movement to boot that you would see in Quake or Doom. The catalyst that kickstarted this recent boomer shooter scene was Doom 2016, a kick in the teeth in the industry that showed that old-school FPS gameplay could still be a viable style within the FPS market. That, and it brought the franchise itself back from the grave as well, with it being one of the best shooters I've ever played. A game universally loved by a lot of people in the Doom community and the FPS community. And of course, they would do it again with Doom Eternal, a game that is an improvement in almost every aspect, save for a lack of a level editor like Snap Map and multiplayer variety beyond battle mode. Either way, 2016 helps kickstart the boomer shooter scene that would start up later. Now, we have so many of them that we're practically drowning in them. Mostly in PS1 style fashion anyways. But when something saturates, it gets much harder to find the genuinely good ones that leave an impression on you. The only other 4 games that have genuinely impressed me so much that they're in my top 4 are Dusk, Ultrakill, Herat, and Cultic. Games that each bring unique flavors to the table. And now I have a 5th one that is in the top 5, and one that I've enjoyed a lot more than I expected. Prodeus. Prodeus is the culmination of the recent boomer shooter scene as well as the success of both Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal. From a gameplay and graphical standpoint, it portrays its grittiness with blood and gore, spawned with the magic of sprite-based weaponry, with reloading animations that some people have bitched about, Andrew Holshot's industrial goodness, and finally, one of the most intuitive and accessible level editors that you can find in a shooter. Now, the first time around when I tried it on the Game Pass, my impressions of it were a bit more lukewarm, and I glossed over some of the issues at the time. I would drop it eventually as other games cropped out of the woodwork and I wouldn't touch it for a while. But as my interest in level design grew more as well as game dev, so too would my interest for Prodeus return. I bought it on Steam and would do a playthrough of the game. And somewhere along the way, the game just finally clicked for me. I could see the parallels with it and Doom and how similar it was to it. Demonic forces, dimensional invasions, futuristic weapons that are so destructive that enemies are laying in red shit by the end of the fight, all in a thin paper story with a dark setting. It's one of those games where you're not going to get a lot of story or as much context as to what's really going on. You play as a creation of an entity known as Prodeus, a being that desires perfect order in existence. As for why and what it would look like though, who knows. Think of it as like the entity Quake, and you somewhat get the same idea. In any case, a war is erupting between 2 forces, the Proteans and the Chaos. After this happens to you, you wake up from a nexus point, and then you begin ripping and tearing your way through the different complexes, labyrinths, and arenas across different dimensions, picking up new weapons, items, secrets, all in pursuit of going after your creator. From beginning to end, you traverse the planes in Super Mario World fashion, going from one place to another, as well as stumbling upon the trials to unlock more orb fragments that you can take to the shop to unlock new weapons and upgrades, 2 of which that give you new movement options, and the 3rd letting you carry more ammo. Each level varies from industrial complexes to hellish landscapes and snowy wastes. The game's blend of medieval and sci-fi always allows for a lot of creativity. Just look at Quake 1 mapping, for instance. And this game itself, from a level standpoint, has some great variety to appreciate. The only thing that can be seen here as a con though is the lack of color variety, which people have talked about. Personally, I'm okay with it. The game's dark and gritty setting wouldn't exactly mesh well with too many bright colors. Having the right color palette to reflect the setting is an important thing, and to go for more hellish or industrial based colors fits the game like a glove here. For those that want more colors, however, the game does in fact allow for it in the level editor, which you can make all kinds of levels with, but we'll get to that later. Structurally, the levels have you collect keys, activating buttons or levers, and eventually finding the exit door or the portal. So if you've played classic Doom or other retro shooters, then you'll have a pretty good idea of how to traverse the levels anyways, as well as the secrets that you can obtain, as well as having the records of kills too after the end of each level. You can, however, find logs and entries that do give a bit more information to the game's world, but unless you're looking for absolutely everything in the level, you'll most likely skip past these, and even then the story isn't developed well enough to really care, but that might change in the upcoming DLC, The Elder Vale. so time will tell. Even still, the other departments on the other hand more than make up for it, starting with the gameplay. The gameplay has that similar retro feel, somewhat comparable to classic Doom if it was heavily modified, like what you would see in Brutal Doom or Project Brutality. It doesn't try to do too much to be innovative or reinvent the wheel a bit like, say, Ultra Kill, but it does provide gameplay that is familiar and fun, where anyone can pick it up to rip and tear. The enemies come in different shapes, and they all pour liquid after each shot, some red or blue, or even diarrhea sometimes. But still, blood and gore is what you'll be seeing a lot of in this game, with a good feeling of retro-style movement and gunplay to boot. Compared to a lot of other shooters, this game is pretty standard gameplay-wise, but for what this game aspires to be like, I'd say that it's enough, and it's made a lot better thanks to the fantastic arsenal of weapons that you have here. The sprite work on them are amazing, with some nice attention to detail, as well as the secondary firing modes that they all have. You have the Swarmer, which fires a bunch of rockets that can hit multiple targets at once, and there's other ones too that really give you a bang for your buck with a lot of interesting ideas to go about the arena. When it comes to weapon arsenals, this game is definitely one of my favorites, and if it wasn't for that, the gameplay wouldn't be as good if I'm being honest. There's also some nice variety in the monsters too, but at the same time there isn't. Eventually you'll be fighting more of the Protean enemies, which are like the blue ones. They're essentially reskins of the Chaos enemies, except that they take more damage and they have different attacks. Both sides, however, do have unique enemies, but all in all, it's kind of disappointing that they didn't just all have completely different forms between both of the factions. It kind of just feels like a red and blue situation, if you know what I mean. In saying that, gameplay is pretty solid, enhanced by the amazing arsenal of weapons that feel impactful and have great sprite work put into them, even the reloading. In terms of challenge, there is an elephant in the room here, and it's the Nexus Point system. Basically, when you die, you spawn at the Nexus Point, but the problem is that it continues the same instance and doesn't reset it. This means that you can have a really sweaty fight, die, and then just go back in there and then mop up the rest. This makes even the hardest difficulty, ultra hard, more manageable than it should be. Some levels like the final one doesn't have it, but the majority of them do. First time around, I didn't take much notice of it initially, but after some time and consideration, hearing the opinions of others, as well as revisiting the game again, as well as experimenting with other difficulties like ultra hard, I can see now that the Nexus Point system is the game's Achilles heel that diminishes the more challenging aspects of its gameplay. Having the instance resetted would have fixed it, and the game's challenge wouldn't be broken, but if you can get past that, Prodeus is still a great game that has other things to offer on the table, starting with its use of sound and graphics. The weapons, as I've said, sound punchy, sound like you're making a difference in the room beyond the blood and gore that you leave behind. Most of the time, I'll even just use the pump action shotgun because of the sound bites that I get from it, or the rocket launcher when I want to blow up for a change. Environments have some nice ambience in between sections, and the music, done by Andrew Holsholt, makes good use of bouncing between ambient tracks and argent metal-like music, like a beach ball. Oh, and also, they even have a MIDI version of the game's soundtrack made by James Paddock. If the game isn't Doom enough for you, then you can just change it to the MIDI tracks, and then you can play it like it's 93 all over again. On the side of graphics, I love it. The blend between detailed 3D models and pixelated sprites with the enemies and the weapons give it a really nice blend that is coded nicely into the game itself. A lot of retro-styled shooters even go for retro graphics, more specifically PS1 style graphics, or slightly more updated graphics. This game goes for both, with having the pixelated sprites and the detailed models in between, as well as the game's dark and gritty atmosphere and color palette. It works really well all together. Also, you can change the enemies from sprites to models, or change the filters of the game to have even more of a pixelated look. I'd say just toy around with the setting until you found the one that clicks with you. Sound and graphics are departments that are going to be more on the subjective side because personal tastes have to be taken into account as well. But Prodeus, I think, does a great job in the sound and graphics department and is one of the better looking and better sounding boomer shooters out there today. On the side of multiplayer, no one is really playing it at all, and it's a shame because the core gameplay is already pretty good. But this is a common thing for retro shooters with a multiplayer component. Dusk is one example, and as far as I know, there aren't any bots to practice on, so I couldn't really get a good idea of what it's like. The game also has co-op so that you can do levels with other players if you can get someone to join you. But in its current state, people generally don't seem to be interested in these modes, and if you want to organize matches or co-op sessions, you'll have to get a herd together to do it. But on the flip side, and this is the game's biggest strength, is the level editor and the community content that this game has. From the very beginning, this game was built with a level editor from the get-go. This was to ensure an accessible and easy to use editor so that rapid development of community-based content would be made, basically giving people an infinite pool of content to enjoy. If you look on the browser, there's all different kinds of content, and the search bar allows for more specific searches. There's a lot of creativity to be had here, and a lot of these missions are way better than the main campaign itself. You even have remade levels from existing games like Doom 1, Quake 1, Doom 64, and even levels from Unreal Tournament 2004. There's standard levels, custom-made levels with their own bosses and cutscenes, or even different game modes, all made possible with the level editor. I played around with it myself and even made a simple arena map that infinitely spawns enemies. It's nothing special and definitely needs more work, but I made the effort to try and learn the editor a bit. When you make one map, it makes you want to go at it again, and when you see content like this, that's when you see the game's true potential, and it shows why level editors should be in more shooters. This game will have new content forever because of systems like this, and I would recommend giving this a try if you want to get more into level design. Prodeus is one of those games where on the surface it appears to be a serviceable boomer shooter that doesn't do too much gameplay wise, but digging deeper, its ability to let you create all kinds of levels is remarkable, with a level editor that anyone can use. On top of that, the weapon arsenal is really fun to use and has some great sprite work. Add that to the environments and the blend of pixel and 3D graphics meshing together. While the glaring issues keep it from being even better than it already is, it's not enough to deter my overall opinion of the game, and I think it's a game that stands out in its own right. I enjoy retro or boomer shooters, the modern shooters that have a yesteryear attitude towards the current state of games today, going backwards on purpose to revive an older style of shooters that just aren't really being made mainstream-wise. Each game has their strengths. Prodeus' map-making foundations make it one of the best in this regard, on top of the other things that also make it great in my opinion. I look forward to hopping in, exploring more content, as well as making some myself here and there. Definitely pick this up if you're looking for a solid boomer shooter with a lot of blood and gore that paints the rooms red, as well as the upcoming DLC that I'm definitely looking forward to as well. Thank you for watching.